Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Shri Chinmaya Yatishasya Gurum Vande Tapovanam Tam Himavad Vibhutim Vai Jnana Vairagya Rupinam Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhyajatraah Sthirairangai Susuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vidhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedah Swasti Nastarksho Arishthanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Wishing everybody a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. May Bhagwan Ganesha's blessings be with us and remove all our obstacles. So we are in the fourth query of this very most beautiful Upanishad, Prasnopanishad, where the student asks the teacher, as we see the cross questions are going from gross to subtle, and now he wants to know who is it that sleeps? Who is it that stays awake? Who watches the dream? Who is that which is aware of the dream? And who experiences the bliss of deep sleep? And the fifth question is, where are all these established? Where is the substratum? So as we can see, this question goes directly at the end to the consciousness, the substratum. So last week we had heard the teacher say that just as the sun's rays merge into the orb of the sun at sunset and then at sunrise come out again, so also all the senses, the mind, the intellect, all go into, actually the senses goes into the mind. The sense organs and the organs of action go into the mind, which is the Deva. And the mind then maintains that through the night, and then in the morning, again, the sense organs come out and the organs of action, and we are ready to work. So now the next question is, who is the one staying awake? And we know the answer, the pranas, the digestive system, the heart, the lungs, circulatory system, the pranas stay awake. And we should be so thankful that Bhagwan didn't give this job to us. You have to maintain that, because then what will happen? Person won't come to work. He'd say, why didn't you come to work today? I forgot to digest my food for past 6 days. So now I was busy digesting. Or suddenly he says, I forgot to breathe. He's gone. So why did he go? He forgot to breathe. So thank God Bhagavan kept that with himself and did not give it to us. Also, we find that in sleep, as we know very well, sleep is very important, and we'll be addressing that in the fourth question of this query, because it is in sleep that all our health is maintained. The mind is nourished, all the bodies is repaired, all the, whatever the cells are regenerated. That's why deep sleep is very important, and people who cannot sleep have a lot of physical and emotional issues. So this is what we have studied so far, and these are the 5 questions. So teacher has answered 1. Today we'll do questions number 2 and 3. Saroj, Ben, you would like to do that? You have uh, it's question mantra number 3 and query 4. Can you unmute, please? Yeah.
I'm just looking for it. Mantra number 3.
It's in the new book, in the black book. It is page 156 in this book.
Yeah, I got it. Yes, I got it.
Pranagnaya eva
Pranagaya eva
etasmin pure
etasmin pure
jagrati
jagrati
garhapatyah
ratapatyaha
hava esho
hava eso
apano vyano
apano vyano
anvaharya pachanah
anvarya pachana
yad garhapatyat
yakayat pratyat
praniyate
ganiyate
pranayanat
pranayanat
ahavaniyah
ahavaniyaha
pranah.
pranaha.
Yeah, it's a little difficult chanting, lot of difficult words, and I'll try my best to explain a lot of technical concepts in this particular mantra. So we'll chant together. You can please mute. Pranagnaya evai tasmin pure jagrati garhapatyo hava esho pano vyano anvaharya pachanah yad garhapatyat praniyate pranayanadavahaniyah pranah. So the Rishi is saying, what is the one that stays awake? And he says the pranas. Prana Agni. So Prana Agnaya. Prana Agni is ever. So the 5 pranas are considered as the 5 fires. And we'll talk about the 5 fires today. 3 are mentioned in this Upanishad. 2 are mentioned in other Upanishads, also in the Karma Kanda rituals of the Vedas. So Pran Agnaya Eva. So these Pran Agnis, these 5 Pran Agnis alone, Etasmin Pure, in this Pura, in this city. That's why this body is called a city. Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nava Dware Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karayan. So this Atma, this consciousness stays in this city of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, a mouth. So 7 above and 2 below. So 9 gates. So these pranas, jagrati, they stay awake. And what are they called? So the name is Garhapatyaha, that is 1. And Hava, indeed, Eshaha, this Garhapatya is the apana, is the excretion. And what is Vyana? We have 5, Prana, Apana, Samana, Vyana, and Udana.
So he went to the Apana first.
Yeah, so he said Garhapatya is the Apana, and we'll find out why he mentioned Garhapatya first. And then what is the Vyana? Anvaharya Pachnaha. That is Anvaharya Pachnaha is the Vyana. And who is the prana? He says, Yat garha patyat praniyate. That which is taken from garha patya. It is taken from that. And then pranayanat. And what is its activity? What is its function? That ahavaniya is the prana. So three agnis are mentioned: garha patya, anvaharya pachanaha, and ahavaniya. If you remember, you don't necessarily have to remember the names, just remember the function. So he says, we talked about this puri. So what is garha patya? And so we already talked about the first line, that it is the prana agni which stays awake in this city of 9 gates. And the first is garha patya, which is said to be the apana. Now, Garhapatya was the most important fire at the Vedic times. And the householder, the man of the house, was required to maintain that day and night, 24 hours a day, as long as he is alive. Or if he is traveling or if he gets sick, then his wife or his son or his pupil can maintain it. So the point is that even women were doing rituals in those days, but the main job of maintaining this fire constantly, it was never supposed to go out, never. And that was the job of the householder, the man of the house. Now, suppose a person has taken sannyas, then obviously sannyasi is not required to maintain garhapatya. If he's too old, then he is not. And if the person dies and is cremated, the fire has to be taken from the garhapatya agni, which is maintained in the west part of the house, only specifically in the western side. And the fire is taken and the cremation is lit. Now, why is it called the apana? Because the apana is the excretion, right? The excretion. So from this fire, all other fires are taken. So from the Garhapatya fire, the other two fires, actually all the other 4 fires were lit from the Garhapatya. So that's why it is called the apana. And then we'll go into a little more detail as later on, but I'll just mention the functions. Anvaharya Pachanaha, that was the second fire, which is called the Vyana. From the west side of the house, it is taken all the way to the southern side. So as the Vyana circulates through the whole body, you know that the prana intake, apana is excretion, samana is digestion, Vyana is circulation, and Udana is the final one, and we'll talk about that, which at the time of death takes us, and while we are alive, it gives us creative powers. So Vyana is the circulating, so this fire starts from the west, goes through the house, and then is maintained in this southern part of the house. It doesn't have to be maintained all the time. The Garhapatya is the one. The idea is that every part of the house should be heated, because in the olden days, lot of these people lived in the northern part and where it was cold, and in the winter in the mountains and all. So the fires had to be maintained to heat up the house. And then from the Garhapatyat Praniyate is taken what? Ahavaniya, the third one, which is in the east side of the house. And pranayanat. And what is the activity of this avahaniya? This is the fire that is used for rituals. So all the offerings, so every day, actually they were supposed to do twice a day, Agnihotras, at sunrise and at sunset. And generally they would call a priest, to do that. And if the householder felt capable, he could do it, but generally a priest would be called to chant the mantras. And the daily pujas were called Agnihotras and had to be done at sunrise and sunset. And the eastern part where the Avahaniya was, it was the location where half the sun, when it was seen in that location, then the ritual had to be performed. So very precise, and also the shape and the size and the a lot of trigonometry and geometry came out of these Vedic mantras, how the shapes should be, how the forms. It's all very detailed. I won't go into that, but tremendous detail is given in our Vedas. So that is the prana. Why is it called the prana? Because rituals are offered into it. So the priest will offer, the grain, the ghee, and all that. So the rituals are offered. Similarly, in pranas are in the top part of our body, in the face. All the sense objects are offered. The eyes see, the ears hear, the nose smells, the tongue tastes, and also touch is felt. So all the five senses are felt. So that's why it is called the prana, where all the offerings are made. So the offerings of the sights, the sounds, etc., are equated to offerings in the prana. And that is called the avahaniyaha, fire. And that is only lit at the time of rituals, doesn't have to be lit all the time. And since it equates to rituals, to yagna, so what we have to take from it, that our intake should also be a yagna. Just as when you offer to Bhagwan, Agni Devta, you're offering clean grain and ghee. You're not going to offer old food to the Lord, when you are doing the achamaniyam and all the offering the food and the water and all. It has to be clean and pure. So similarly, offerings within us also have to be clean and pure, because Bhagwan is within us. So that's why we say Bhadram Karne Vishnunuyam Deva Bhadram Pashyemaks. So may I see what is auspicious, may I hear what is auspicious. So what we offer through our eyes, through our nose, through our tongue, eat things that are clean and pure and healthy, and then living a life of self-control. So when we say every offering is a yagna, means we should live our life in the yagna spirit. And in the yagna, offerings are made to the devtas. That's why Bhagwan in the 3rd chapter, he says, Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyata devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu yaha. So he says, Bhagwan says, we offer to the devas to propitiate them, and the devas offer us blessings. So parasparam bhavayanta. So we nourish the devas by our offerings, and the devas nourish us by their offerings. And faith is very important in this. Faith in the Lord, faith in the yagnas, faith in the Vedas, faith in the Guru, the knowledge of that. Talking about faith, there were these 2 nuns who were working as volunteers at a hospital, and they were driving back to their convent. It was a long drive, and about 10-15 miles was going through like a forested area where there was nothing, just trees. And it so happened that their car ran out of gas. It was evening time, and in the night was approaching, and they were worried that they had no cell phone connection there. It was in the boonies, and they were lost, and what to do. And so they started put on their flashers, and a trucker was driving by. So they waved, and he stopped, and he felt sorry for them. He said, "Can I help you?" They said, "We ran out of gas, and can you please, give us some gas to get to the next gas station, which is 10 miles away." Trucker said, "Surely, sisters, I would love to do that. I have this tube hose with which I can take out the gas, but I don't have a container. Where am I going to put the gas in?" So they say, okay, they used to work at a hospital. So they said, "We have this bedpan, which is brand new, has never been used by a patient." So they bring that new bedpan and they put it there, and he drains and then they are now putting the gas, from the bedpan into the gas, into the car. And this cop happens to drive by and sees the flashing lights. So he says, "Sisters, what you are putting is not going to make the car run, but I admire your faith." You have great faith, and I do. So faith is required for anything to happen. That's why when we get in a plane, we have faith that the pilot has been well trained and all those. So here it says faith is required. Now, how does this Garhapatya Agni get lit? And that is very important. You cannot take a matchbox and light the fire. You cannot do that, or matches or anything. You have to do the Arni Manthana, which in Kaivalya, some of you must have heard in previous Upanishad. Arni Manthana in Kaivalya Upanishad. I think it also came in Tattva Bodh or Atma Bodh, right, Sharad?
Yeah.
I think it is mentioned in that. So Arni Manthan is where a stick is rubbed, where there is an upper Arni and a lower Arni. Atmanam Aranim Kritva Pranavam Chotararanim Jnana Nirmatana Bhyasat Pasham Dahati Panditaha. So Kaivalya Upanishad said the lower Arni is the ego, me. And the upper Arni, there are two Arnis, they are like bowls made of stone. The upper Arni is Atma, is the Pranava, is the Om. So Om is the upper Arni and ego is the lower Arni. And the rod that is connecting is with a rope is very rapidly rubbed, rotated, and then in the lower Arni, there is some cotton or some grass or some wood pieces put in there. And when the rapid rubbing of the Arni happens, then it catches fire, and then that fire has to be taken and put in the Garhapatya. And if the Garhapatya goes out, then you have to do Prayashchit karma, because that has to be very carefully maintained. So in that mantra, of course, the ego has to be connected with Om, that means in meditation. And what is the stick? The stick is Jnana Nirmathanabhyasa. So by the churning of knowledge, what is the churning of knowledge? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasan. So by these three, the stick of knowledge is how I connect the ego to Om. So that's the significance of this Arni Manthana. And these also represent our karmas. So the daily rituals is the Nitya karma. That what I'm supposed to do every day, certain duties I have. Then Naimitya karma is like rituals are done during a wedding, or when a child is born, or when a person passes away, or when there is the Janeu ceremony. So those rituals correspond to Naimitya karma, special activities. Then Nishiddha karma, of course, forbidden actions must not be done. Prayashchit karma, we already talked about. If some Nishiddha is done, then one should do Prayashchit for that. And then after that comes Kamya karma and Nishkama karma. Kamya karma is karmas performed with a particular desire. Say, I want a child. And so then we do a yagna, as Drupad did, when he wanted children to fight against Dronacharya. Or when they want rain, then they will do yagnas for rain, or they will do yagnas for a particular, for the welfare of the community. That is called Kamya karma. Or the highest could be, I'm doing yagnas to go to heaven. So that is the drishta and adrishta phalam. Like rain or a child is drishta phalam. Adrishta phalam, which I have not seen, is going to heaven. So karmas can be for drishta phalam or adrishta phalam. That what I can see or what I cannot see. But better than all these is to do nishkama karma. When I do rituals, I'm not doing for any particular gain. I'm not even doing it to go to heaven. I'm doing it for the welfare of society, and I'm doing it for mental purification. So when rituals are done with that attitude for purification of the mind, then this purification of mind will take the student to the teacher, and the teacher will teach, and then he will realize. So these are the three Agnis, the three fires. The fourth one is called Sabhya. Sabhya means Sabha. In Hindi, there is a word Sabha means assembly. No, it is in this one.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 Agnis. You can count it in this one or the next one. Sabhya means for the Sabha, for the gatherings.
Saman.
So when people are gathering together, like for a religious gathering or for any other reason, the gathering happens, then they used to have a hall called Sabhya Hall, where people would, like when guests come and when people are meeting, there's some special occasion like birth or something. So then the fourth Agni is lit in this Sabhya, which is not mentioned in this mantra. That is the fourth Agni. The fire, that room also has to be kept warm. And the fifth one is called Avasatya. Avasatya means Vasa means where somebody stays. So when the priest is invited to do this Agni Hotras, he has to come at night because he has to wake up early morning to do it. So then the place where the priest stays is called Avasatya. So 5 Agnis. One is the main Agni, then which is Apana, then the Vyana, then the Prana, and then these 2 Agnis for guests. Now we'll go to the next mantra, which is mantra number 4. Harshaben, you would like to read? It is on page 159 of this old book. You can unmute, please. Yad Uchchavas Nishvasau Etau Ahuti Samam Nayatiti Sa Samanaha Manohavava Yajmanaha Ishtaphalam eva Udanaha Sa enam yajmanam Ahar ahar Brahma gamayati. Okay, you can please mute. We'll chant together. Yaduchvas nishvasavat veta vahuti samam nayati tisa samanaha manohavava yajmanaha ishtaphalam evo danaha sa enam yajmanam ahar ahar brahma gamayati. So very beautifully he has given 2 more, samana and udana. He had mentioned prana, apana and vyana in the previous mantra. Uchvasa means breathing in. Nishvasaha means breathing out. So that's why he has used the dual. Uchvasa nishvasau. But that the sandhi rule becomes nishava. So uchvasa, nishvasau, etau. These 2 ahuti, these 2 offerings. So intake and excretion, breathing in and breathing out. And who maintains the balance? Balance, samam nayati iti sa samanaha. So samana balances the intake and the output. So inhalation and exhalation, breathing in, breathing out, also taking in and then excreting, by mouth, all that is balanced by samana. So samana is the balancing fire. And who is in this yagna, who is the yajmana? See, if you know in the yagnas, there is somebody who organizes, who is the householder, who is the one who is called the yajmana. And he hires a priest who is called the hotra. The priest is the one who knows the mantras. He performs the yagnas. Who gets the benefit? The yajmana. Yajmana gets the benefit. The priest gets dakshina. He gets paid. Like, for example, if you want to work out and you want to build your body. So what do? You hire a trainer and he comes and you do the workout with him. So who gets the benefit of the workout? You do, but the trainer gets paid. So similarly, for this also, the yajmana is the householder who is organizing the yajna, and he might do it for his family. He might invite the whole neighborhood, depending on the purpose of that. And mind is the yajmana. Why is the mind the yajmana? Because mind gets all the benefit. If you do yajnas and do mantras, the mind feels good. You feel mentally good. And if you haven't, done properly, then the mind feels unhappy. So mind gets the result. Mind is the yajmana. Mind is for whom this yajna is carried out. And then who gets the ishtaphala? The result of that, of the yajna, is udanaha. Udanaha is the remainder after the yajna is over. See, after the yajna is over, you get the phalam, right? It could be a drishta phalam, as we said, a child if you want, or if you want to go to heaven. So the udana is the one that is remaining after the yajna is over, ishtaphalam. That's why after the yajna is over, we distribute prasad to everybody. That is called the ishtaphalam. So why is udana? And I was thinking about it. When all the when at the time of death, all the four pranas merge, right? Prana, apana, samana, vyana are no longer functioning. After death, who is the only one functioning? Udana is the only one. So that is called the ishtaphalam. That is the only thing remaining after the yajna is over. And that is udanaha. And what does udana do? As we said, udana takes the subtle body at the time of death. When we are alive, it is responsible for all creative functions. But udana has a very more important function. Every night, it takes us to Brahma. He says, Brahma means, does it take me to realization? No. Enam yajmanam ahar. Every day, Brahma gamayati. Means it takes us to inner peace and happiness closest to Brahman. Because in deep sleep, the gross body is not functioning, the subtle body is not functioning, the mind and intellect has gone. In the dream, of course, the mind is functioning, intellect is not. In the dream, the mind is functioning. In the waking state, all three are functioning. Gross body, subtle body, causal body. But in deep sleep, only the causal body is functioning. So there is a very little gap between me and Atma. That's why after you've woken up from a deep sleep, you've had a very nice, good sleep, then you say, I slept very well. And if you have too many dreams and you didn't sleep well, then you say, oh, last night was terrible. I had too many dreams and too much disturbance came. So that's why it is said, it takes us to Brahma, means takes us to inner peace and happiness. It's like takes us to Swarga. That's why they say deep sleep, it is a punya. If you can get good sleep every night, that is a punya. You have done punya karmas. If not, then, people take, if they have their mind overactive, then they have to take sleeping pills and so on and can't sleep. And in India, they always talk about that person sleeping on the footpath sleep soundly because he has lived a relatively clean life. He has not done, and the person who has lived a life of compromise, maybe living in a big mansion, sleeping on a pillow and a soft cushion, but he can't sleep. Why? Because his life is lived with compromise. He has not lived honestly. Does not mean that all poor people are honest and rich people are dishonest. That's not the point. The point is that the kind of life you live determines whether you get deep sleep or not. So here, what they're talking about is pranayama, that when the intake and the inhalation and the exhalation is balanced and done properly, that is pranayama. That's why in pranayama, that they will teach you how to balance your pranas, and that is part of this ritual. So that is samana. Samana is the one that balances. That's why when people are very tense and anxious and they breathe very, very fast, like that, then suddenly they become faint and dizzy because they have not breathing properly. And then the doctor or the nurse will say, calm down, breathe slowly. So all that is pranayama. And we talked about already the phalam and the yajmana and the swarga, the peace that a person experiences when udana takes the mind to Brahma, to the Lord within. And how about for an illumined master? How is his life? See, you and me, because we have lived a life which is not, we have lived a life with compromise, not lived the life to the best way. So then our waking state, we have a lot of tension. And if I have done something wrong, our dreams, we will see in the next mantra, our dreams are related to the waking. So dreams are also disturbed. And deep sleep, of course, doesn't happen. We have to take sleeping pills and so on. But for an illumined master, even his sleep is a blessing. And he does not need to perform any rituals. They say, oh, if I become enlightened, then I don't have to do any rituals. Yes, but first become enlightened. Then you don't have to keep the fire, don't have to do any yagnas. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita also it says that once the enlightened, even the Vedas cannot give him any instructions. He doesn't need to study Upanishads or anything. So that's why they say even the Nidra Samadhi Sthiti in Shiv Manas Puja, he says even a enlightened master's sleep is a Samadhi. He is even in his sleep blessing. He may not even go out and give lectures. He may or may not set up a mission. He may or may not give talks. But even his sleep, he is blessing everybody. So that's why they say that's the difference between an illumined master and us, because then he is beyond all rituals and his life is a life of blessings. Like they say, like a rich man, he has invested his money wisely. Even in his sleep, his money is growing, stocks are growing, the dividends are coming. So similarly, an enlightened master, even in his sleep, because he's gone beyond punya, papa, and all. And where did this mantra, the word swaha, come from? I was doing some research. It's very interesting. So they said Prajapati, Brahmaji himself, he uttered the word swaha. Swa, aha. Swa means myself, aha means sound. So the first sound that the Prajapati came from him was swaha. From me comes the sound. And they say from his sweat came ghee. So yagna started with Prajapati himself. And that is the benefit of the benefit of doing yagnas. That we are propitiating the gods and doing our karmas and doing it for the benefit of society, and it leads to purification of mind. So here we have talked about who sleeps. As we said, the senses sleep, and the intellect in sleep becomes inactive, and the mind alone is projecting the dream. So the third question is, who projects the dream? So Lata, if you want to read that, mantra number 5. It's on page 162 of the black book.
Okay.
Atraisha devaha
Atraisha devaha
swapne mahimanam
swapne mahimanam
anubhavati
anubhavati
yadrishtam drishtam
yad drishtam
anupashyati
anupashyati
shrutam eva
shrutameva
artham anushrunoti
artham anushrunoti
desha digantaraischa
desha digantaraischa
pratyanubhutam
pratyanubhutam
punah
punaha
pratyanubhavati
pratyanubhavati
drishtam cha drishtam cha
drishtam cha
shrutam cha shrutam cha
shrutam cha
Anubhutam cha.
Anubhutam cha.
Ananubhutam cha.
Ananubhutam cha.
Satcha satcha.
Satcha satcha.
Sarvam pashyati.
Sarvam pashyati.
Sarvaha pashyati.
Sarvaha pashyati.
Okay, you can please mute. We'll chant together. Atraisha deva swapne mahimanam anubhavati. Yadrishtam drishtam anupashyati. Shrutam shrutam me vartham anushrunoti. Desha digantaraischa pratyanubhutam. Punah punah pratyanubhavati. Drishtam cha drishtam cha. Shrutam cha shrutam cha. Anubhutam cha nanubhutam cha satcha satcha sarvam pashyati sarvaha pashyati. Beautiful mantra. So where he says, who experiences the dream? Who is the Deva? Deva here means who is the God. So here the God here means what is the faculty, because Deva comes from Div, to illumine. So what is the illumining faculty that illumines the dream? So atra, so here Esha Devaha Swapne. In the dream, who is the Deva? It is the mind. That Deva Swapne Mahimanam Anubhavati, experiences greatness. What does that mean? The mind becomes great in the dream. We'll see how the mind becomes great. And drishtam anupashyati. What it has seen, it will see again. In the dream, I'll see what we have seen before. Shrutam eva artha. So whatever the desires, whatever I have heard, anushrunoti. So what I have heard, I hear again. What I have seen, I see again. And desh dig antaraischa. So the places and the countries, pratyanubhutam, that I have gone before, punah pratyanubhavati, again and again it experiences. So what I have seen, I see before. What I have heard, I hear before. The places I have visited, I visit again. And what I have seen, drishtam, and adrishtam, what I have not seen. How do we experience what I have not seen in this life? Shankaracharya ji explains that. And shrutam cha, ashrutam cha, what I have heard and what I have never heard also comes in the dream. And anubhutam cha, ananubhutam, what I have experienced and what I have not experienced also can come in the dream. And sat and asat, real and unreal, all come in the dream. Sarvam pashyati. Sarvaha pashyati means itself, it becomes all. And as we know, say when I'm in my dream, and the famous example is I'm running through the forest, a tiger is chasing me. So the forest, the tiger, the tree, everything is the mind. The mind itself becomes the forest, mind becomes me, mind becomes the tiger. Now it may not be logical. It may not be logical. Like, for example, I've gone to the zoo and saw a monkey. And then I was coming out and I saw a girl wearing blue shoes. And then I walked further and I happened to see a Swamiji giving a discourse. So in my dream, what will I see? I'll see a monkey wearing blue shoes giving a discourse. So the mind puts together different impressions that it has gathered and creates a dream which may be logical, may not be logical. Because the intellect has become inactive. The intellect has become quiet. Intellect is not present in the dream. Only the mind is active, and the mind is like a projector. It collects all the impressions and then projects them. So mind itself becomes the dream. That's why sarvam pashyati, sarvaha pashyati. Mind projects everything sees everything and itself becomes all. So that's why Sarvam Pashyati, Sarva Pashyati. And as we have said, how can it project what it has seen and what it has never seen in this life? Suppose I have never seen something. Can I see it in the dream? Shankaracharya ji says yes. How? Because of previous births. This is a proof, because if I have never seen anything, never, how can I dream about it? Or if I have never heard anything, any particular style of music, I have never heard. And then suddenly in the dream that music starts playing. So that's they say that is the
Previous.
proof of previous birth. That's why they talk about xenoglossia, that some children, 4 and 5-year-olds, speak in language they have never experienced. So that is all because of previous birth. Because the buddhi is dormant. They say, can the mind imagine? No, mind cannot imagine. Buddhi can imagine. That's why, when the apple fell on Newton's head, he started thinking, why did it happen? How did it happen? So buddhi can imagine, mind cannot imagine. Mind can only replay what it has already experienced. Mind cannot create new things. New things can only be created by intellect, by buddhi. So that is the difference between mind and intellect. Mind is like a tape recorder. It cannot record new things. Buddhi can. And how does the mind function and why does the mind get greatness? Because mind alone becomes the whole dream world, including the dreamer, the experiencer, everything that is experienced, it is because of previous karmas. But can mind alone do it? No. Mind itself is inert. Mind is jada. Mind is set to function because of chidabhasa, because of reflection of consciousness. So consciousness that is within us, when it reflects in the mind, it is called reflection of consciousness, chidabhasa, and that is required for the mind to function. Mind independently cannot create a dream. Mind is jada. People say, oh, this world was made of 5 elements. No, 5 elements are jada. You put air, space, fire, water, earth together and lying here. You can leave it for 10,000 years. It will never create anything. You need a sentient being. So the sentiency within us, which is the life principle, which is the consciousness, which is said to be the Turiya state, the 4th state. So the waking, where all the 3 bodies are functional, gross, subtle, and causal. In dream, only the mind is functioning, and in the deep sleep, only the causal body, the vasanas, are functioning. And the 4th state, which is the Atma, the consciousness, is said to be the Turiya state. And as long as the mind is functioning, there will be duality, right? As long as my mind is functioning, I say this person is separate. But in deep sleep, you don't experience any duality. In the dream state, you experience, I am there, and then somebody I like is there, and then somebody I don't like is there. So but I alone am there, but the duality is created by the mind. But in deep sleep, there is no duality. That's why they say deep sleep is like being in contact with Brahman. And for a realized master, see, for us, we only experience this bliss in deep sleep, which we'll talk in the next mantra. But for a realized master, he experiences this bliss 24 hours a day, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because he or she always stays in contact with Brahman. And for such a person, he understands, I am that one self, I am all pervading, I am the Sakshi, and I am unaffected by all these. So that is the glory. So this mantra is not only given to tell us about waking, dream, and deep sleep, but that the reflection of consciousness is what gives glory to the mind. Mahimanam anubhavati. The mind experiences glory because it is in contact with consciousness. So here we have talked about today, basically that we talked about the 5 pranas and how the 5 fires correspond to the pranas. Prana, Apana, Samana, Vyana, Udana. We talked about the Garva Patya, which is the permanent fire, Avahaniya, where the rituals are offered, and the Anvaha Pachana, which is in the south part, which is the Vyana for keeping the whole house warm. And then we talked about the various fires in the Avasya and the Sabhya, where the sabha is happening, and all the pranas, how they function. And it is the mind that is the experiencer of the dream and also the creator of the dream. And in deep sleep, it goes into Brahman and it is taken by Udana. It's a very technical mantra, these particular mantras. So I hope I was able to explain. If anybody has any questions to clarify. And then next week, we'll talk about who experiences deep sleep. And then 5 mantras are very beautiful, which talk about consciousness. So here, the highest knowledge is given in this particular query, and then we'll continue from there.
So that fire we were talking about must be maintaining our body temperature.
Yes.
It is keeping the
Absolutely.
constant.
Right.
The one which is doing the all, isn't it, keeps the whole house warm.
Right.
That must be keeping our temperature at 97.8.
Yes. Yes, that Niru is right. So it is these pranas which maintain not only the temperature of the body, but this city also, this body, which is a city, not only the whole house, but this house where I reside is also maintained by pranas. So the temperature is maintained 98.4. And if it goes too high or too low, then
that is imbalance.
that is imbalance. That is where the samana goes out of balance. And that's where life cannot be sustained. If it goes above 105 or goes below 95, 94, then a person cannot. So yeah, so the pranas maintain the temperature in the house, also in the body. These Agnis, 5 Agnis. Any other questions, comments?
So I had a question, Anilji,
Yeah,
about this Grahapatya fire.
right.
How come throughout our lives we have not heard about it? Meaning that ritual is not being...
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. And Gurudev actually answers that in his commentary. He says that this was known to everybody in the Vedic time, but now we have forgotten, and we think it is mere ritualism. And
But now also, people who have their Ishta Devata, when they do the puja, they do it every day.
Yes.
They put the lamp, they do it. And when they go out of town or something, they ask their daughter or whoever to come and do it.
Right.
So that's what was coming slowly. Now we don't follow it, that's different thing.
Right, that's true.
But that is what I was thinking, that
Very true.
in olden days it was Vedic time. So then Puranas came. So from Puranas came this pujas and all that, and then that's how.
Pujas came, yeah. So from the Vedic rituals, we have forgotten.
So daily puja is like that only.
Yes, daily puja is like the Agni Hotra that has to be done every day.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. There are some sort of similarities, but
yes.
But I mean, this seems like it's a major ritual that we are failing to perform.
Yeah, we have forgotten it. Also because it's for now we have heating. You have central heating, so you don't need 5 fires. But I think a lot of things of the Vedic times have fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, I think.
Yes. Gurudev has mentioned in his commentary, if you read it. Kerry, you have any comment or question?
Well, I was just going to say, in our modern times, we sort of have that central fire in that, we have pilot lights that we keep lit.
Yes. Right. In the heating, we have the pilot light. So true. If that goes off, then the heating goes off. And that's
not good.
Absolutely.
Well, good comeback, Kerry.
Good one. Actually, when I was reading this mantra, I was hearing about the Jyoti, Akhanda Jyoti. In 2015-16, when they were celebrating Puja Gurudev's 100th birthday, the Agnis were brought from the four corners of India, were brought to Bombay, and they were combined, and then this Akhanda Jyoti was lit, and then that traveled to all the major countries of the world, even came to Bakersfield. It came to San Jose, from San Jose to Bakersfield, then we took it to LA and San Diego. And this Agni was maintained, and then after it traveled all over the world, it was taken by plane to Bombay, and then now it is in Vibhuti. In Pune, it is still maintained. Constantly 24/7, this Akhanda Jyoti, Akhand means unbroken, is maintained to offer our homage to Puja Gurudev. So it is being practiced also, maintaining this Jyoti, but it's not very common, but a very good question, Satish Bhai.
Anilji,
Ah,
the one more I think information that I have is I think most our Durga, I mean Devi temple, that's the Peeth, Sakti Peeth, they all have their Jyoti that they goes on for, it's
Yes.
been there for a long time. All the Sakti Peeth have that too.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, that's true. A lot of the temples have. Thank you. Yeah, so in a way they are maintained. Some of these rituals are maintained, especially the Vedic rituals are more maintained in South India, because from the north, there were so many invasions and so much other influence, Muslim influence and all that. The south was relatively protected because of the Vindhyachal mountains. So a lot of the Vedic culture has been maintained more in the south. All the chanting, the mantras and everything. Yes, Sharaf.
In the modern times, in regards to Satish Bhai's question, the only fire that has been maintained is in the Olympic Games since the 1930s. They try not to put that fire, the lit fire out. It keeps it going basically.
So it is maintained in Greece. It is kept.
Yes, yeah, it's kept up there. Yeah.
Right. So similar principle.
Yeah. So I don't know if that has anything to do with our Vedanta, but that's the only thing that I can recall.
Well, there is also Parsis. They brought the fire from Iran,
Right.
and then they are still carrying that.
Yeah. So fire represents knowledge.
Yes.
It goes upward and represents knowledge. That's why Gyanagni Sarva Karmani Bhasmasat Kurute Arjuna. Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, in the fire of knowledge, all karmas are burnt. And that's why knowledge is the highest. Thank you. Lata, you have a question?
Had one quick
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
You mentioned the word sabha. Oftentimes, can sabha and satsang be used interchangeably or not?
Yeah, it can be. Sabha means gathering for any purpose. It could be for religious purpose. It could be for political. It could be like a family gathering. So sabha means assembly. It doesn't necessarily have to be religious. It can be any kind of gathering that happens in that house. And avasatya is where the priest stays. Yeah. Thank you. Lata, you have a question? We have
Yeah.
1 minute.
So in the last shloka we did 5. The Guru answers the question number 3, right? What is the Deva who sees the dream?
Right.
Yeah.
You explained that, and that is mind you were talking about.
Mind is the one. Yes.
Okay. And in deep sleep, mind is not aware.
The
Is that
mind is not aware. Intellect is also gone to sleep. Only the causal body is functioning, and that will
They
talk
are in
next.
dormant state.
Mind and intellect becomes dormant. Mind also does not function. That's why in deep sleep, you experience nothing, because the experiencer is not there. The individual body's awareness is not there. Mind and intellect also go to sleep.
But,
awake जैसे होते हैं.
Right.
Yeah.
so? My understanding was mind cannot create something that it has not seen or heard or experienced.
Right.
That is the scientific fact that I had heard.
Right.
So
Only the
I don't know how it can see new things in the dream.
Not in the dream. The intellect is the only one that can create and imagine in the waking state. In the dream, if the mind is seeing something which it has never seen before, it is from previous birth. That's what
So
Shankaracharya.
it is not even from the intellect which has created, stored, and mind is pulling that memory out
Yes.
of it
No,
and
that-
then creating
Right. If
in
the
the
mind,
dream.
yes, it can. If the intellect has created, say I've written a book in my waking state, the mind can
Mhm.
take the ideas from that book. So whatever the mind has experienced in
Mhm,
this life,
mhm,
seen, heard,
mhm.
experienced, yes, a mind
Mhm.
cannot create, but mind can reproduce what it has
Right.
experienced.
Right.
So but
But
the intellect is the only one that can create or can imagine. Imagination and creation only happens by the intellect. That's why only in the waking state they come up with new discoveries, new inventions, and even
Right.
realization only can happen in the waking state. Enlightenment, the intellect has to be there, the mind and
Mhm.
intellect together, and then you have to transcend them. So
Hmm.
yes, carry.
And
Well,
in
you know,
Turiya state, sorry.
go ahead.
Turiya state is the fourth state.
Yeah,
Past
but
the waking dream.
mind is not available, intellect is not available, even causal body is not available. What is in Turiya state? That is the
Turiya
status.
state is the person is still alive. His body, mind, intellect, and vasanas are still functioning, but he has transcended them. He has become
Hmm.
one with Brahman, and then he uses the body, mind, and intellect. Realized masters still have to get up in the morning and have breakfast, take a shower. They have to do all those things, but they do it as an equipment. They don't say, I am this body, I have this body. And they have already transcended the mind and intellect. You and I are still prisoners of our mind and intellect. They have gone beyond. So that is enlightenment. I think the time
Okay.
is up. Very short.
Go
Very
ahead, Kerry. Sorry.
very
Well,
quick.
I was just thinking about how, there's been so many inventions, and even everyday people like us, you'll be you'll have a problem and you have a dream, and then, you get a solution in your dream. I mean, is that the intellect? And I mean, you're not awake. It's just,
No.
and then,
No. The mind cannot create or cannot imagine. The intellect has that idea, and then the mind, because it is connected with the intellect, gets the idea from the intellect. The mind cannot. It does not happen in the dream. It is whatever I have seen or experienced with or imagined with my intellect, that alone the mind can project in the dream. So I think we'll end here. Time is up. If anybody has questions, would like to stay back, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll do the closing prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.